Welcome to Hack the Entrepreneur, the show which reveals the fears, habits, and inner battles behind big-name entrepreneurs and those on their way to joining them. Now here is your host, John Naster.
Hey, this is Hack the Entrepreneur. Thank you so much for joining me again today. I'm your host, John Naster, but you can call me Johnny. My guest today is an Iranian immigrant. He's been inspired by this freedom that we have, the freedom and power that sits at our fingertips through the power of entrepreneurship. And sometimes it's a freedom that we take for granted, but he definitely hasn't. He's the creator of Finish Line Thinking, where he's a mindset coach to high performers in sport and business. He's also the co-founder of the Business of Thought Leadership podcast and the author and co-author of several books. Most notably, the book titled Mark McCoy's Gold Medal Fitness Secrets, which he co-wrote with Olympic gold medalist Mark McCoy. Now, let's hack Nicky Billou. I want to take a moment to thank today's awesome sponsor, ShipStation. When you're selling physical products online, getting your orders out the door quickly can be tough. That's why you need ShipStation. Whether you're using Shopify, Squarespace, Etsy, BigCommerce, or WooCommerce, you can track all of your sales. Everything across more than 75 sales channels from one simple interface. Or from anywhere you happen to be with the ShipStation mobile app. Yes, it's available for Apple and Android. ShipStation helps you get orders fast and get them out to your customers faster. And with ShipStation, you'll ship more in less time, and you'll get the best rates available. It's no wonder that ShipStation is the number one choice of online sellers. Right now, as a Hack the Entrepreneur listener, you can try ShipStation free for 30 days. And you'll get an additional month for free, but only if you use my promo code, HACK. Don't wait. Go to ShipStation.com. Before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage. And in the promo code section, type in HACK. That's ShipStation.com, promo code HACK. ShipStation. Make ship happen. We are back with another episode of Hack the Entrepreneur. And today we have a very, very special guest. Nicky, welcome to the show.
John, it's an honor to be here, man. I'm pumped.
Me too, man. It's really cool. Sometimes these are on really long timelines, and this one we met last week, and here we are. So I think this is gonna be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be a blast.
Nice. Let's jump into it, shall we?
Let's do it.
Nicky, as an entrepreneur, can you tell me what is the one thing that you do that you feel has been the biggest contributor to your successes so far?
That's a fantastic question. I've never had anyone ask me that question before. And I do a lot of these. So my one thing is I love people and I love to persuade. I love to enroll. I love to get to know people. Understand what makes them tick. I love to get to know what makes you tick, John. What are your hopes, dreams, and fears? And then out of that conversation, if there's an opportunity for me to be of service to you, I'll jump on it. And that's something I think I do that's pretty unique.
So this was interesting because it starts off with, I love people to persuade, to enroll. Is that the sales side of it? I just need some clarification for the listener.
Not necessarily, but obviously it helps in sales. Yeah, I mean, you and I could be having a conversation, right? And you could be telling me, Nicky, you know what? I used to be an athlete when I was in university, and I'm not one anymore. And I've always wanted to be back in that same athletic vibe again. I want to be strong, healthy, fit, etc. And I love that conversation. And I'd talk to you, and since I happen to know a thing or two about that, I'd persuade and enroll you to take certain actions that would be of service to you to move you forward. Now, if we're having a business conversation and you're telling me, you know what, I'm a little unclear on what my message ought to be to my ideal target market, then I'll have a business conversation with you, and it could lead to a sales conversation. But I love the human interaction. These types of conversations, similar to the one you and I are having now, they give me a lot of juice. They give me a lot of excitement.
Nice. Okay, so to be clear, when I was in university, I was not in any sports. I come from music, so I'm a drummer, guitarist, and so I was the anti-sports person. So coming from that,
introduce you to my buddy who's a professional drummer, and say, you and Joe need to meet. You need to start banging on the drums with Joe, and you need to get back into it. That's what I tell you.
nice. See, so that's what I was trying to get at, like, because you said a very specific thing, and you said that's something I know about, and then we can continue from there. And there's the business side of you and I that definitely is a similarity, but I was wondering if we miss out on that like base similarity, like in college you did this or you did this, could you still carry on? And I love the way you're just like, instantly you're just like, I'll introduce you to my buddy who will be a perfect match for you and move on. So it's not just sort of, it's not that salesy sort of thing where you're looking for things that you can say you have in common and then you can do the pitch. That's not what you're talking about.
Well, look, make no mistake about it. I believe in pitching and I believe in selling. And in a business discussion, there definitely has to be a desire to explore opportunities. And if that opportunity shows up, I'm going to pitch. But if that opportunity doesn't show up, if the only opportunity that shows up is a personal one, and I like you, I'm going to, and I like most people, you know what I mean? I'm going to do something to be of service to you. It doesn't have to always be being of service to you in order to get a sale. But I believe in selling. And I think that one of the biggest challenges that entrepreneurs have today is there's so many people who are frightened to death of selling. Like they think it's a dirty word, you know, it's a 4-letter dirty word. And it's not, it's the cleanest word there is out there. To me, selling is an act of service. It's an act of love. It's an act of deep courage. Because let me tell you, most people just don't like sales. So if someone is attempting to serve them from a selling perspective, many people get their guard put up. Many people don't give them an opportunity to be of service to them. It takes raw courage to be able to stand in the face of ridicule and rejection and disapproval and still want to serve somebody and still want to help them out through selling. So to me, selling is a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And more people should understand that. And more people, especially entrepreneurs, should respect sales and respect salespeople.
So is the sort of fear of it, or the reason why so many people are against sales, is it that fear of rejection, or like what is it that holds us back from wanting to, like, meeting you like briefly in a coffee shop, and it was like I could tell that you were somebody who liked sales. I love sales. I'm super into it. I believe in it.
Nice.
But I know, and I agree with you, that a ton of people are not. But I've never been quite able to put my finger on why that is.
Well, I'll tell you why that is. The reason is they're afraid. They're afraid to put themselves out there. And I can speak to this with such certainty because I've been that guy. And putting yourself out there in front of someone else, really emotionally naked, if you will, when you're in sales, which is what you need to do, and be ready to get to reject you, to ridicule you, to completely close themselves off to you is a tough thing. It's a horribly tough thing. And for a lot of people, rejection isn't something they can handle. They make it mean something personal about them, like they're not good enough, like they don't matter, they haven't got what it takes. And I know this because that was me. And it took me years, decades, to really understand that a person not wanting to do business with me, not wanting to buy what I was selling, had nothing to do with me per se. That everything to do with them, where they were at in their life, where they were at in their business life cycle.
But most of us don't have to sell face to face anymore, Nicky. Like that's what I'm really trying to like. We
all sell.
I know, but we get to sell through either indirectly through like a podcast, but even like through writing a sales page or emails that sell, those kinds of things.
Sure.
You would think that would be easier for people. Like, but because you don't have to face that face-to-face rejection, somebody can just delete your email or they can just look at your page and leave. But it's still, I think, that fear of failure, right? And actually taking that step of creating something, putting it out there, and then having sort of the market tell you that actually this isn't what we want.
Um,
And it's not you that they don't want, it's the offer.
It's the offer, absolutely. And here's the thing, though, but I would argue that every human being, unless they're a hermit, sells every day. You need to sell your spouse on continuing to be your spouse. You need to sell your kids on taking direction from you and taking instruction from you. You know, you need to sell a friend on going out to a social engagement with you. Life is sales. It's all about having a conversation with another human being, and that conversation can be face to face, it can be over the phone, it can be through various digital media like websites and like social media. But sales is pervasive and ubiquitous in the human condition and human existence. And the sooner you, listening to this podcast, grasp that and accept that and internalize that, the easier it's going to be for you to achieve your biggest goals.
So you've been at this game quite a while at this point now, Nicky. Can you look back at this point and sort of pinpoint a time when you sort of made that decision to sell, that decision that it's beneficial not only to you, but also to the other side, the other party, and kind of figure out how to do sales?
Well, I'll tell you, it wasn't a moment. It was more like an evolution, an iteration. Having been in business for myself for a long time, I had a lot of the same fears as I mentioned before. And I just would get up and hide it from everybody else. But I felt afraid. I would look down on salespeople because the idea of selling and being good at sales was not something that I believed was possible for me. So rather than face it, I would blame other people. And I would say, it's because that's a slimy salesperson, or that's this, or that's that. There was not a moment in time that I got that I was doing that, but it was an iterative process. Having been an entrepreneur and having had to sell, one morning I just kind of got up and I realized, you know what, selling's a beautiful thing. Selling's good. All these stupid thoughts I had about selling were getting in the way of me being successful at it.
Okay, fair enough. So if it was sort of an iterative process to selling and becoming good at sales, is there a defining moment in your life where you realized, or at least now looking back, you realized that you were an entrepreneur and this was sort of the path you were going to take?
I'll tell you, it didn't come out of being in business. It came out of me being in my men's group. So I mentioned to you, John, when we met, that I'm a divorced father, right? And when I got separated from my wife, it was a horrible time for me, and I got involved in a men's organization. And one of the things that helped me get out of my funk was to pay it forward to other men. And I ran into a lot of men who were going through similar situations. And so what I did was I told men about this amazing men's organization that I was a part of that could totally help them get out of this way faster. And then I found a man who was a coach for men at the time. He lived in Toronto. And I got a whole bunch of people to go see this guy. And then one day, one of the men in the group, as well as this fellow that I was sending clients to, said to me, you're really, really good at enrollment. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm okay at it, I guess, but I'm not really good at it or anything like that. And they both said, no, you're really good. You've put like 50 men into this organization. And the coach that I was working with said, you've sent me over 60 people. I've almost been $1 million because of you. And I'm like, wow. That's when it kind of hit me. I guess I was good at this. I guess I had a skill for it. And then I started to understand how important it was to have that skill, because in those two instances, I wasn't trying to make money. I was trying to help these men who were going through a similar pain that I was going through, a pain that was debilitating to them. It was debilitating to their families, right? And as a result of being able to persuade these men to participate either in coaching with this gentleman or being part of the men's organization, literally dozens and dozens of families were positively impacted. That's when I realized that having the ability to enroll someone applied to business as much as it did to what I was doing for the men. And that's when I started to really take sales a lot more seriously. And I humbled myself and decided I want to learn how to be a better salesman. I want to learn from the very best people there is. And so that's what I started to do. And I've got a mentor right now who, in my opinion, is probably the best sales mentor on the planet, certainly one of the best. And I listen to him and I learn from him. And I listen to various podcasts, and I get to meet up great people like you who have their own success in sales. And I'm constantly learning how to be more effective in enrollment and persuasion and selling. Because if I'm more effective at it, John, If I'm speaking to someone like you, you're an entrepreneur, you're up to some really cool stuff. And you said to me, Nicky, you know what? One of the things that I'm not sure about is what really my ideal message ought to be. I've been in business for a while and I've had some messages, but how do I figure out what my ideal message is and who really benefits the most from this? Man, I know I can do something about that, right? I mean, that's what Michael and I do. We help people nail their personal brands. We help people get super clear on what their message is, super clear on what their ideal target market is, position themselves as the thought leader, the preeminent person who solves that problem for those people, and then go out there and start broadcasting that. And when we help someone do that, they win, and they win big. Their ability to succeed goes up tenfold, even 100-fold. And the only reason that happens is because at some level, I've gotten in touch with the fact that I care about you and I care about your listener. And what I want to do is I want to make it possible for you to live the best version of yourself as an entrepreneur. And I know deep in my bones that nailing your expertise, nailing your message, nailing your thought leadership will 1000% do that for you. And if I get to help you nail that, you'll be able to make the biggest dent possible in the universe. And if I do that for you, then I'm living my purpose, because my purpose is to help you as the entrepreneur and all the other entrepreneurs out there figure this out for yourself powerfully and utilize it as a way to propel yourself forward. When you make your dent in the universe and several thousand others make their dents in the universe, John, then I've made my dent in the universe. Does that make sense?
It does. But is there necessarily a best version of let's just talk about me. Is there a best version of myself as an entrepreneur right now? Or on the other hand, is it like you with sales where it's like an evolutionary iterative process, day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year?
I believe the answer to both questions is yes. Now, if you decided, okay, I want to do my iteration faster, there is a way to speed up your iteration. If I had met my coach, Mark von Musser, 3 years before I met him, I'd be 3 years ahead of where I am right now when it comes to sales. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because he would have helped me hack some very powerful shortcuts to move my ability to be successful at persuasion and enrollment forward. And the same is possible for you as an entrepreneur and for you as the listener listening to John on this podcast. Absolutely, it's possible. There is no overnight success, but there's a way faster path to success.
Right. But to use the sports analogy then, there would still be it would be the best version of myself as an entrepreneur today, but that's not necessarily the one that I need to be next week or next month. Because if now I'm the best version of myself today, I can build a brilliant
Absolutely.
business, but that business is going to grow and I have to keep ahead of it.
You do. It all depends on where your vision is. I mean, if your vision is to get to a particular size of business and that's good for you, then the best version of an entrepreneur for you is someone who can manage that size of business powerfully. But if your vision is to grow tenfold or 100-fold or 1,000-fold, or really to make an impact on a global scale, then absolutely you're going to need to be on your game. You're going to need to continue to iterate. But if you can hack that process, if you can get there faster, I say that's a wonderful thing.
I agree. So at the beginning of this conversation, you said your love of people, persuasion, and enrollment is your one thing. Now, Nicky, every blog post, business expert, they talk about this 80-20 rule in business. You're supposed to find that 20% that gets you the 80% of results. You're supposed to do what you're good at and delegate the rest. Nicky, can you please tell me something that you are absolutely not good at in your business?
Oh, buddy, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things, Scott. That'd be a way longer conversation than this. I'll tell you that I am not the guy to go out and create cool new designs on what our look and feel ought to be like. I can definitely take a look at what a nice logo or a nice book cover or a nice podcast cover ought to be, but I should never be the guy who designs any of that stuff. I would make a hash of it, And the other thing that I'm probably not the best guy to do is to go and to be in charge of all technology for the company. It's not that I'm a tech tard, but it's not something I love. It's not something that I'm passionate about doing things. So my partner, Michael, who you met, he loves technology. I mean, it's like an ice cream cone to a 4-year-old for him, So I want him to have his ice cream cone. Let Michael take care of all the technology aspects of the company. Now, I know enough to be able to, be conversant about it and have conversations with him about what we need to do to move it forward. So I think that's something that as a business owner, it's important for me and incumbent for me to know enough about it to be conversant on. But there's no way I'd be the guy who's dealing with putting together Infusionsoft and other programs that are necessary for us to do what we do. And when I do my own stuff, I'm definitely going to have other people help me with that sort of thing.
There we go. There we go. I appreciate the sort of self-awareness of the things that you aren't good at. And you still, I believe, need to be good enough, like you said, sort of to be dangerous where you understand it, but it's not sort of in your wheelhouse, as they would say.
No, it's definitely not in my wheelhouse. What I'm good at, man, is I'm good at talking. I'm good at being on stage. I'm good at having one-on-one conversations. I'm good at creating content. And I'm really good at connecting people together. Those are the things that if I spend most of my time on, business grows.
Okay, so this segues nicely into what I'm calling loosely projects. So you have several businesses going at this time. You just said a bunch of things you're good at. So projects is a loose term. You can pick a specific project you've just started, or just in general, you as an entrepreneur, as this sales-minded person, as a growth-minded person, I'm sure a ton of ideas come to you while you're out walking, while you're driving, while you're in the shower. I'm sure ideas get brought to you into your inbox and through people you meet and through business partners. I would like to know, Nicky, how you personally sort of digest all the ideas of projects that you could execute on now, but what is sort of the process you go through to decide that a project is right now currently worth your time, energy, and resources?
So it's really simple as far as I'm concerned. So number one, does it meet my purpose, right? And if the answer is yes, then it gets to the next level. Number two is it's going to move the business forward, the business that I'm involved in. So right now, Michael and I have a podcast we do together called The Business of Thought Leadership, which is the number one podcast for thought leaders out there. And so that project to me is an important project. What we want to do inside of that project is we want to meet great thought leaders, and we want to meet, people who have interesting thoughts and great accomplishments. And we're working on getting more and more of those people attracted to our podcast. So you're going to be a guest on our podcast, for example, right? And, we're excited to have you there. And it's really important for me to make sure that we continue to get lots of great people on the show, because if we do that, then we get to serve the people we want to serve. And the people we want to serve in this case are aspiring thought leaders, people who haven't yet pulled the trigger. Maybe they're working for a corporation, but they've always dreamed of becoming a coach, a consultant, or a corporate trainer or something like that, and being out there on their own, but fears held them back. That's one group of people we want listening to our podcast, because we want to inspire them and encourage them to take that step and move into the community of thought leaders. And the second group of people we want listening to our podcast are people who are already established and are already successful, but they have no time. So these could be business consultants, corporate trainers, or coaches. And in order to attract them and attract the first group, we need to have great guests who deliver great content, like world-class content that they can't get anywhere else, content that makes the people listening to the podcast wiser, smarter, content that they can implement inside of their business or their dream to move them forward. So this is super, super important to me. It's on point, it's on message, it's on purpose. And then tied to the podcast is we've got these amazing kind of generosity hacks that we've created, right? These are things we give away to help our audience become more successful. So we've put together a one-pager called, the Authority Marketing Blueprint. It's a 10-step blueprint for how to take yourself from where you are to being known as the authority in your market space. So we offer this to people. This is available through our podcast homepage, so thebusinessofthoughtleadership.com, and it's got its own page as well, which is authoritybox.com. And people can go and grab this. So these particular items are things that we work on, we're continuing to iterate and make better, because the purpose of these is to grow our audience, to grow the value that we offer to people so that we're known as being people who help you establish yourself as the thought leader in your space.
Right. So I mean, you answer the two questions. Does it meet my purpose, and does it move the business forward? So is this to say that there's no idea of a new project could be brought to you or could come to you right now outside of the podcast or a business you're currently working in that you wouldn't take on?
Well, I'll tell you, we've got a lot on our plate. So we'd have to be really careful. It definitely has to meet our purpose, my purpose for me. I mean, I can let Michael speak for himself. And it definitely, from a business point of view, has to meet the business forward. Now, I've got certain passion projects I do. I think I mentioned to you, John, when we met, that being a divorced father, one of the things I was passionate about is helping other fathers whose wives have left them to get through the pain that that process involves way more quickly than I did, right? To get through it in weeks or months instead of years, decades, or in some cases, never. And that's really important to me, right? So I picked that project. It's not part of my main business, if you will, but I've decided to move forward with it. I've created a Facebook page to help support it. I do a lot of specific blogging on Facebook and live videos talking about issues that are important to fathers in particular who are faced with this, and talking about issues that are important to men in general, help them tap into their power as a man and be a better man, be a better husband, and all that good stuff. So there's a lot I do that's not inside the business that's around that purpose as well. But it'd be hard to take on a lot of things, you know. Purpose can be a pretty big thing in life, at least from my perspective. And if you take on a mighty purpose, as I think I've taken on a mighty purpose, I think it's important for me to know what to say no to, you know. And it's there's a lot of good, worthy ideas that I'm just not the right guy to take on.
Right. Do you like ideas come and maybe it's not the right time? Do you document these ideas and put them somewhere else for maybe to come back to? Because I mean, I agree that you don't want to spread yourself too thin, because then the things you're focused on don't get the attention that they deserve. But every entrepreneur is different. Some entrepreneurs need one project and that's it. They focus, and some need 10. But then some people like to keep those ideas for later to see if they should stick around, or, you know what I mean? Like,
you know what you mean? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look,
you seem like somebody who comes up with a lot of ideas of things you should execute on.
I do, man. I do, and I bite off more than I can chew. Right now, there's probably about 6 or 7 projects inside the business, and I'm doing for men that are there in place. But, you know, Michael and I come up with new ideas all the time, and there was a really good one that we let go of this summer. I had an opportunity to go participate in the International Coaches Federation global conference, right? And it was a good opportunity. There'd be a lot of great people there to help our business. But there was another opportunity for me to be with my 2 sons and my brother and his son and take a trip of a lifetime to British Columbia. And so I chose to do that and to forego the conference. You know, it was a tough decision. I'm going to tell you, it was a very tough decision for me, but it was a no-brainer too, because I want my kids to look back at the time they had with me growing up and go, wow, man, my dad did some cool stuff. He took me on a trip with my cousin and with his brother, and we went to BC and we just had a blast. And that's, you know, raising my little men into good, solid, powerful, masculine men. That's top of my list.
There you go. That's a good answer. I like it. All right, Nicky, this has been an absolute blast. I do want to wrap up on one final question for you, if I can.
Of course.
It's this idea I'm working with calling the entrepreneurial gap, which seems to be this gap we live in. As entrepreneurs, as dreamers, I feel like we are always projecting our personal successes into the future. Whether it's 1 month from now when you hit that revenue metric, or 6 months when you stand on that stage, whatever it happens to be, Nicky, both you and I know that seconds before you hit that goal, you're going to set 5 or 10 bigger ones into the future. And much like walking towards the horizon, the further you walk, the further away it always gets. We look sometimes really successful from the outside, but to ourselves, it's always ahead of us. So for right now, I would love it if we could sort of close that gap for you, Nicky. If you could stop, turn, and look behind you, the highs, the lows, the wins, and the losses, but tell me how you feel about your whole entrepreneurial journey up until today.
I'm blessed and grateful, man. I get to live in Canada. This is the #1 place in the world to start a business and be successful. You know, I come from the Middle East. I come from a rough realist part of the world, and I get to live here. I've got 2 fantastic sons. You know, I have a great relationship with my ex-wife. I've got a wonderful woman in my life, and I run a company with an amazing man, Michael Palmer, who has exactly complementary skills to me. What he's good at, I'm not, and vice versa. How many partners do you know who can say that? Because I don't know a lot. You know what I mean? And we have a podcast that we started just over a year ago right now. It's the #1 podcast for thought leaders in the world. I'm really excited about that. And we've got a phenomenal mastermind and educational program called eCircle Academy that we've been running We've got 20 fantastic members in that. And it's just getting better all the time. You know, what can I tell you, John? My life is pretty good. Would I like to have more success? I absolutely would. I'm working toward it. But for the most part, I'm blessed and grateful, man. Life is good. It's a lot of fun being Nicky Billou.
Brilliant. I love it, man. I love it. And yes, obviously we all have to strive and push forward for more things, but I do appreciate you stopping and looking back until now.
Thanks.
So thebusinessofThoughtLeadership.com is the website for the podcast. eCircleAcademy.com is the Academy
That's
website.
Right.
You're also on LinkedIn. I'll get a link to that, and I'll track down a link to your business partner, Michael Palmer. He will also be on the show in the next month.
And I wrote 2 books that I'd like to tell you, the listener, about. One is I wrote #1 international best-selling book called Finish Line Thinking: How to Think and Win Like a Champion. That book comes from my deep fascination with champion performers. I've had the privilege of being business partners with 2 Olympic gold medalists. And my better half is a 3-time world record holder in ultra distance running. So I've always been fascinated by champion performers in athletics. And this book is how to take that mindset of a champion and apply it to your business success. It's a really great book. And I wrote a book for children called Kathy Capitalist and Johnny Jobmaker, John, that's all about teaching kids kind of under the age of 8 about free market principles in a fun and interesting way so that we raise the next generation of good little capitalists.
Wow. I love it. I will find links to both of those books and I'll drop them in the show notes for you. So when you're done walking, jogging, working out, whatever it is you're doing right now, those will be on hacktheentrepreneur.com for you under Nicky Billou. So Nicky, once again, man, thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for sharing so openly. And please just keep doing what you're doing, man, because it's awesome and inspiring to watch.
John, it was an absolute honor and a privilege to be here on your podcast today. And I'm looking forward to having you on mine.
When you're selling online, getting your orders out the door quickly can be tough, but also absolutely essential to your continued success. This is why you need ShipStation.com. It's the fast and easy way to manage and ship your orders, all from one place. Right now, you can try ShipStation for free for 30 days. Plus, you're going to get an additional month free, but only if you use my promo code. Promo code is HACK. Don't wait. Go to ShipStation.com before you do anything else. Click on the little microphone at the top of the homepage and type in HACK. Once again, that's ShipStation.com and enter promo code HACK. ShipStation. Make ship happen. All right. That was fun. My thinking is you got some things that you got 1 or 2 really key sort of points out of that conversation. Whether it was Nicky's attitude towards entrepreneurship or sort of mindset and big thinking, which I fully agree with him on. But we've reached the point where we get to go back. We get to see with the point that you pulled out of the show or the conversation, if it's the same as the one that I pulled out. All right, let's do it. Let's find the hack.
It's the offer, absolutely. And here's the thing, though, but I would argue that every human being, unless they're a hermit, sells every day. You need to sell your spouse on continuing to be your spouse. You need to sell your kids on taking direction from you and taking instruction from you. You know, you need to sell a friend on going out to a social engagement with you. Life is sales.
And that's the hack. Nicky. I absolutely love this. Every human being sells every single day. Okay, if there's a skill that is absolutely necessary for you and me to master as entrepreneurs, as creators of things that we want to be able to sell, be able to exchange value for, we need to be able to sell that to somebody else, right? And there's always been, I'm fascinated with sales. I have been since I'm a kid. It's just something in me that I've fostered. But this idea that so many people have, and maybe you have this too, and maybe this will help you overcome this, which is something that needs to be done, but maybe the thought of selling as in that really like that terrible like used car salesman who's just trying to sell you the lemon and get as much money from you as possible. That idea of sales that we grow up with sometimes, or that we're raised with, or that we see through our perception of the world, it makes us not want to be salespeople. And it's wrong because the way Nicky says it, and I absolutely love this, is every human being sells every day. This is how to become a better salesperson. Think about every interaction with your girlfriend, with your husband, with your kids, with your coworkers, with your employees, with the dude who works behind the counter at the coffee shop. Anything you're trying to do, any sort of exchanges, any sort of relationships you're building involves sales of ideas, sales of concepts, sales of products, sales of services, sales of your sense of humor. It doesn't matter what it is. It's not necessarily selling a product and here's an exchange of money all the time. And a great way to practice it is to think about it like this. Think about it as that exchange of value, like external of direct money, but through humor, through story, through just people wanting to do stuff with you or hang out with you. This is a great way to step up your sales and to really focus on it and to think about the psychology going on behind it, and then take that confidence and move it into selling products, selling your services, whatever it is. But please stop saying that you aren't a salesperson, because Nicky just proved it. And well, he didn't prove it. He said it. That's not really proving anything, I guess. But it's absolutely true that we are selling our ideas, ourselves, our whatever it happens to be, and use that confidence to move forward and change your thinking into, I'm not a salesperson, to maybe I'm not that good of a salesperson yet, but I will get better. And I'll get better, and I'll get better, and I'll get better. And as you do that, you will grow as a human. Your business will grow because of it. Nicky, thank you so very, very much. That was fun. Did you enjoy that? I enjoyed that thoroughly. So we've reached the point in the show where I want to ask you again for ratings and reviews, because you're awesome. And because I know that you'll take 2 to 3, 4 minutes, whatever it takes to go. hacktheentrepreneur.com/iTunes if you're on an Apple device. If you're on any other device, you're using any number of hundreds of different places you're listening to podcasts. There's so many now. It's amazing. But wherever you are, they all have ratings. Whether that's Google Play, whether you're on Stitcher, whether you're on Spotify, wherever it happens to be, you can leave ratings, you can leave reviews, you can leave stars, some of them. But please take a couple minutes, leave me a rating. It doesn't have to be 5 stars. It doesn't have to be awesome. You can say that you hate listening to me, but you listen to me all the time. That's cool. Well, no, it's not cool. But I would just really, really appreciate it. It helps the show so much. I put a lot into this, and I hope you get a lot out, and it would be cool. All right, it's been fun. Hacktheentrepreneur.com. It's the website. The book is up there on the navigation menu. You can go to the book page, and I'm giving away a free digital copy if you would like. Actually, I had like 3,000 people last week downloaded the book, which is really, really cool. So if you want to be one of those people and you haven't had a chance, 10,000 people bought the book. 100 and something of them left reviews on Amazon, but now I'm giving it away for free. And I would love you to have it. So head over to hacktheentrepreneur.com and you can grab a copy if you haven't. All right, it's been fun. I hope you are really, really enjoying your summer. Hope you're getting a lot done, but you're also getting a lot of time away from the computer and business and just sort of enjoying life as well, because it's kind of what all this is about. All right. Thank you so very much for stopping by. I absolutely appreciate it, and I appreciate the review that you are leaving right now for the show. And please, until next time, keep hacking the entrepreneur.